What's up, guys? Welcome back to RC Overload Tuesdays, where we answer your questions here on the show. And I just want to say that I've gotten so many questions lately about various things. I'm going to try to do my best today to answer as many as I can, probably 5 or 6. But I'm going to grab some from a few weeks ago and some new ones as well. But in the meantime, feel free to always ask your question and maybe it'll end up on the show. So, without further ado, let's get into our first question. I'm thinking about making the ECX brushless. I'm thinking about putting a castle setup in it, but I don't know if I should buy aluminum gears and some drive shafts. I've heard that if you go brushless on it, it strips the gears. Please help. Thanks. Pretty much the rule of thumb is anytime you go brushless and you're going to be running especially a lipo in it, it's a good idea to kind of upgrade the drivetrain a little bit, or at least be prepared to upgrade the drivetrain. Brushless does have a lot more power than brushed motors, obviously, so it's going to put a lot more strain on the drivetrain components. As far as the ECX goes, I'll put it this way. My ECX Torment, I had the Castle 3800 kV brushless motor set up on it, and I was running 2S on it. And I actually didn't break anything in the drivetrain, especially after my bashing video that I did, and I'll post a link to it down below so you can check it out. But I didn't run into any issues with it, though things did start wearing out eventually. But it is a good idea to at least be prepared to upgrade the drivetrain parts. ECX does sell, especially for the two-wheel drive trucks, an entire all-metal gear transmission kit. That is a great option. I've done that to my Torment as well. And Hot Racing has some drive shafts that are really good as well that you can throw in there. Now, there is something about those drive shafts, and I am going to get into this later on. I know you guys have been asking a lot of questions as far as what's going on with my trucks and stuff like that, so I'm actually going to make a video here soon doing kind of an overview update of all the vehicles and where they're at. But as far as the ECX and the Hot Racing drive shafts for the two-wheel drive truck is, stick with the stock hubs. The Hot Racing drive shafts work better with the stock rear hubs than if you were to use something, say, like RPM. I haven't tried aluminum hubs yet, but I just want you to be aware of that. But yeah, just be prepared to, when you go brushless, that you're going to probably need drivetrain parts sooner than later. How hard are Nitro to take care of versus electric? I have a Rustler VXL and a Stampede 4x4 VXL. Nitro seems like a lot of work / maintenance. Nitro can be a bit more time consuming as far as the maintenance and operating them go. It's definitely, in my opinion, a completely different side to the hobby. Nitro, for a while there, before the brushless motors really started coming about and the lipos really started to take over, Nitro was the way to go when you wanted to get into the hobby side of RC. For many years there. And that's actually what I started with, was a Nitro RC. Mine was a Nitro Rustler. And that's what I learned so much on. And I do eventually want to get into talking more about the Nitros and how to run them and the maintenance and so forth like that. So give you guys a better idea. I just got to get myself a Nitro in order to do that. I don't have anything here right now. But there is definitely a lot more maintenance. I mean, not significant, but you definitely do have to take, after every run, some time to, go through the truck and make sure it's ready to go for the next time. For instance, you're going to need to clean the air filter after every run. Make sure you have a good set of glow plugs on hand because sometimes they go bad. After run oil in the motor after every run when it's sitting. Excuse me. Go through the truck, make sure it's all clean, and make sure that your fuel lines aren't gummed up, that there's no fuel left in the fuel tank. Otherwise, you'll get a gumming effect inside of that, and that can actually ruin the motor after a while. There's a few things that you got to do, but other than those few major aspects, there's not a whole lot difference as far as maintenance-wise than in comparison to electric. Yes, tuning can be a little more complicated, because almost every time you take it out, you're going to have to adjust something a little bit to compensate for the weather, because it being such a small little motor, the littlest adjustment does make a huge effect in the motor, and especially with the type of fuel you're using and so forth, it does play a huge role in it. So there is a little bit more work, but do not, and I kind of want to say, if you're ready to take on a little bit of a challenge and have some real fun with it, with an actual motor, do it. Don't hesitate. I love Nitro. There's something about it that's just totally different than running an electric. At times, I guess I could say that it feels more hobbyish than just running electric at times. Maybe that's kind of hard to understand, but it's like when I run my low C, the 5th scale. I almost don't want to go back to electric. You know, it almost in a sense, and I'm not saying it fully is, but almost in a sense, when you run something with an actual motor, electric kind of feels toyish in a sense. Even though they're really not, you know. It's just something about Nitro is just awesome, and I love it. And I do want to get more into it here soon. But, you know, don't be afraid of it. Stick with something like a Traxxas to start out with. Their instructions on how to do stuff is great. They walk you through how to do everything. They break everything down. It's very easy to understand. It's just a little more time consuming, and just making sure that everything is up to par at all times. That way you have the best experience every time you take it out. But again, I'm hoping here soon, maybe this summer, to really get into Nitro and kind of explain more here for you guys. Do you think I would be able to use bike lubricant on the gears? It depends, I guess, what kind of lubricant you're really putting on. I mean, usually, and I'm no bike expert, but usually when people lubricate like chains and stuff on bikes, it's a thinner lubricant. It's almost like a water-based in a sense. You know, it's a lot thinner than what I would recommend putting in for RC gears. Usually you want something a little bit thicker, something that's going to last a little bit longer and not run out or dry up quickly. Me personally, I don't race, okay? So I'm not looking for the most high-performance grease that's going to last forever. I like something that's waterproof, very thick, and is going to outlast, you know, for a very long time. So I'm not constantly having to take it all apart after every run or every couple of months and change it out. Right now, I am on a kick on using Cow RC Udder Butter for all my trucks, for all the gears. Because it's thick, it's waterproof, and it seems to do a very, very good job at protecting the gears. Now, I've also used stuff like wheel bearing grease on like full-size cars. That stuff works great too, though I notice it doesn't last as long unless you find like a marine grease or something like that, because usually water gets in it and then degrades the grease very quickly. So ultimately, try to find something a little bit more thicker than just bike grease. Even if you just get like a small little tube of something, it's going to last you a long time. I've had, I forget what size it is. Yeah. It doesn't say. But this jar of Cow RC Udder Butter grease is what I've been using. I've had this for almost a year now. And I've been using it on all my trucks, and I've probably just about gone halfway through it, if that. You know, invest in a good grease. You know, it doesn't have to be Cow RC. It can be somebody else. But invest in a good grease that's going to last you a while. You know, like I said, I like to use this. Somebody else might like to use something else. But again, try to stick with something a little bit thicker. The RTR version said it had waterproof electronics at axial.com. Is that true? If so, can I submerge it? As far as the Axial SCX-10 2 goes, yes, they are waterproof electronics. All brushed motors can be submerged in water. You know, the dirtier the water, the higher the chances that that motor could fail, so clean water is ultimately the best. But yes, the ESC is waterproof, the servo is waterproof, but as a good precaution, you know, absolutely you can run it through puddles. Most people usually don't ever have a problem. But as a precaution, always be aware that something could happen. Maybe it wasn't fully waterproofed from the factory, and it's got a little tiny pinhole in it, and you get water in it, and boom, there goes the ESC. Not saying that's going to happen. Very, very slim chance that that's going to happen. I actually haven't heard of anybody at the time right now say that their ESC did not handle any water in it. But yes, they are waterproof. Just, you know, like I said, just always have that precaution that even though you're running it in water, something could happen. Okay? Last question. Love your vids. Any benefit to doing all the small aluminum upgrades over getting a full aluminum axle? Example, Vanquish. Really, it kind of comes down to preference, honestly. There's really no benefit in doing it like getting all the aluminum upgrades versus getting an aluminum housing. Aluminum housing obviously is going to be stronger than plastic housings, absolutely. It really comes down to preference. For me, Vanquish axles are gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. But you know what? I don't make a ton of money from this or even my full-time job. So right now, I can't justify spending the amount of money that it would be to get Vanquish axles for my trucks. So I usually tend to stick more on getting aluminum upgrades, to beef up the surroundings of the axle, I guess. I have never broken an axle on any of my trucks. I guess I don't maybe beat on it as hard as some people do. But for me, I can't justify spending that much money for something that looks that good that's just going to get beat up, So I do look for more of the aluminum upgrades. Now, as far as me showing you guys those STRC aluminum upgrades on the SCX-10 II, I honestly got all of those upgrades just to show you guys the options that were available. You don't necessarily need to go out and get every single one. And I say this all the time. You don't need to get everything all at once. It's not like you're missing one thing that I didn't have. It's going to be the end of the world. Not the case. Get a couple parts here and there. Put it together. When you want to upgrade something, you got a little extra cash, get another thing. Get this, get that, There's no need to get everything that I got. In my show, I like to show you guys as much as possible what the options are that you can do to your trucks. That's ultimately what I like to do. But there really is no huge benefit from one thing to the other. Again, it comes down to your preference of what it is that you want to do. If you want to get a full Vanquish axle, then I'm going to be absolutely jealous of you. If you want to go with all STRC upgrades, good for you. You just upgraded more of that axle, stock axle, than what it was, basically. So, yeah. Yeah. Alright guys, that's all the time I actually have for today for questions. Next week we will get to a whole bunch more. Believe me, there's a lot more that I need to play catch up with. But anyways, as I said in the beginning, feel free to ask your questions down below. There's a good chance that it'll pop up in next week's questions or the following week's. Who knows? But as many of you guys have requested, you want to see some updates on some of my trucks, what's going on with all of them. Yeah, some of them I don't want to talk about. But I will make a update video here for you guys very soon. We'll kind of go over everything that I got, what's going on, what's missing, what needs to get worked on, and what's ready to go, and where they're all at, kind of. And we'll do that here very soon, I promise, so don't worry about that. And before we finish today's video, I want to end it with today's video recommendation, which goes out to the RC Network. He recently just uploaded a video of the Losi Baja Rock Ray. It's a running video. It looks awesome. It does very well. It's pretty cool. You can check out the link right here or in the description. So that's it for now, you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on the next RC Overload. Later.